Okay. All righty. We'll call the meeting to order and do the roll call. We'll just start from the list that I start with Byron.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Stephanie Poole.
Hi, Stephanie, I'm here.
Okay. John Roush.
Sorry, guys, I'm here.
Rachel Ballweber.
Here.
All right. Riley Hanson.
Hello, right here.
Okay. Kara Snyder.
Here.
And our April Sparks, who keeps all the balls rolling up and making sure that we're technologically connected. Thank you, April. All righty. We miss anyone? I don't think so. Okay. And when Chris comes on, we'll welcome him. We'll start with approval of the minutes from the September meeting. Kara sent those out this morning, I believe. People have a chance to look at those.
I'll make a motion that we accept those minutes.
Okay.
This is
I have
Byron, a second.
Been moved and seconded. And all those in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All right, minutes are adopted. All right, regular items. Next on the agenda, update on contracting for the underwriting reviews and financial management of the trust fund.
I was actually hoping to have kind of the second part of our contract with NeighborWorks ready to just kind of present to you all today. And I don't have that. I can share a few details, but I apologize. You can probably tell I'm getting back from vacation this week and I'm didn't have the minutes done. I'm a little bit behind right now. But basically what we decided to do was to break down the services that they're going to provide into the ongoing reviews for each application, and then the loan origination and the servicing. And so it kind of depends when we're able to finish each of those contracts, whether that's 2 different contracts or whether we just do an amendment. I think it's probably ideal just to have one that includes all of those services. But we were actually a little bit unsure there for a minute whether they were going to be able to provide some of the support to originate the loans. So they had initially agreed to provide templates for us to use, but our finance department really doesn't have any ability right now to do pretty much any aspect of actually the loan origination. So NeighborWorks really did kind of step up here last minute and provide us a scope of work that is pretty inclusive. So definitely very grateful for that. And I can share with you as soon as we have kind of that contract developed. We have a couple outstanding questions with our legal team as well, but once we have that stuff together, I can share a little bit more. But I don't know, do any of you have questions right now on kind of what that aspect of the all of this looks like? So sorry, I'm trying to pull up the scope of work right now. So they're proposing to provide the loan origination and servicing support to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So they'll be providing sample loan documents and working with our staff here to develop templated loan documents for the trust fund, review borrower requirements before funds are dispersed to make sure any applicant or project changes since the time of the application and approval are allowable, draft loan documents for each borrower and work with city staff and title companies as appropriate to complete a smooth loan closing process. provide an annual review for each project, sample template included. So that's something I could share with you as well. And then support the city with questions and issues as they arise related to ongoing loan servicing, which includes loan modification requests. So for those services, they're asking $65 per hour with a $5 increase per hour each year. And we have it set at a 3-year contract right now, which can be renegotiated at that time. And I think I said this in a previous meeting, but one of the items that they're offering as well, which will really just kind of be in that loan underwriting review section, is they're offering to come to these meetings, or at least the ones where we're reviewing projects, and be available to ask or to answer questions related to some of those financial documents that they're putting together. So I think that hopefully should be pretty helpful as well. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Looks like you're muted there. I don't know if you'd wanted to say anything.
Hi, how are you all?
Good, yeah, welcome.
I apologize for missing a few meetings. Life got crazy.
Good to have you back.
Thanks.
So Kara, what is 65 per hour subject to a $5 increase per year?
Mm-hmm.
And so we'd probably want to look at using technology and things to bring them to meetings rather than paying for travel time and such.
Yeah, that's what we discussed. I think that's probably just the easiest option for them. They're spread out between Great Falls and Missoula. So I think probably, yeah, the easiest is to have them here by Zoom.
Kara, do you foresee them giving a presentation of their analysis?
They are open to that. Kind of what we talked about is when we go through this first round, they're planning to have their underwriting reviews back to the city by December 1st. And so I'm just going to pretty much send all of you the applications and then that corresponding underwriting review on the 1st. So you'll have about 2 weeks then to look at all of that material before our December meeting. And so kind of what we discussed is that, you'll have that time to really review, think of all the questions that you have, and they'll be there to answer questions, not necessarily present on each project. And I'm open if you feel differently, if you feel like maybe you want their paperwork presented a little bit. I understand that. I guess I am thinking at that December meeting that we'll really want to focus on the applicants and have them really be presenting their projects. And I kind of saw that as an opportunity to just, I think ultimately they're going to be probably the best person to ask questions of, but NeighborWorks can kind of provide a little bit of context as well.
The NeighborWorks assessment, and they're very good at providing a summary of their risk assessment and other fiscal analysis. So, and what that is an outside independent objective review just based on, standard criteria as to, they usually, provide a really good overview of just some of the bread and butter type of questions in terms of the applicant and what's being proposed. And then I think it would enrich our ability to then ask questions of the applicant.
So you're saying you kind of want them to do a little bit of a presentation on what they've provided?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many applications we're talking about. We won't really know what's a doable process until, yeah, it's not a lengthy, it's kind of a summary. And then all of us will have in front of us in advance of the meeting, their review. So it's really, they're just summarizing, covering the highlights. And then we were able to ask questions because there are probably things in those reports that members of the advisory board will have questions about. And it'd be best rather for us to guess or make false assumptions. We'd be able to ask a question. Well, what do you mean by this, or why was this rated higher than this other thing? But I think it'll become, as we go through the process the first time, I think we'll all have a better sense of what our needs will be in terms of having an evidence-based review of things.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, and I apologize. I know what I would imagine. Who will be doing the work for NeighborWorks Montana?
I think mostly it'll be Larry Phillips. I don't know if you've worked
Yeah.
with him before.
Yeah, I work with Larry all the time. Yeah, so I was thinking we'd be doing it. Larry does an excellent review, and he's used to moving through. It'd be very quick, hit the highlights, and again, it's just an addition to his written report, which is very thorough.
Okay. I guess we can talk about this more when we talk about maybe the structure of the evaluation meetings, but it could be like if we decide we want to do like applicant presentations on one day and then like board discussion on another day, perhaps the board discussion day could be one where we have NeighborWorks present to kind of give that further. Larry could give his kind of spiel on each of the projects. And maybe that's the time to have them there. I don't know. We can talk more about that that's item B. But I agree, and I think that sounds like a good way to approach it, to have them to present their information. And we've talked about this and so many times now, but I think whatever our process looks like for round 1 will probably be very different in round 4, or we'll keep changing this as we go.
A constant movement toward perfection.
That's right. Or maybe we'll get it perfect on the first try. Who knows? Doubtful, but
Just to the board members, as you think about us taking on this responsibility, in what direction, how would you like to see it structured in terms of, so we have different parts. We're having this objective review of kind of a risk assessment and assessment of some of the fundamentals of the financial package and such. We'll be having materials for the application itself. We will probably, as part of our process, we will hear brief presentations from the applicants themselves. And just in what order do people, like in your own decision-making process, where would be most helpful? Do we go from, we'll deal with the application itself? Would we want to start with the application itself and hear from the applicant so we can ask questions of them? Would we want to have the presentation from NeighborWorks Montana before we hear from the applicants, or after? Because we could ask questions of applicants from what we might learn from those assessments. Any thoughts on process in that regard?
I think it'd be nice to hear from Neighborhood Works first and then translate it into process. think that'd be very helpful. So then we have all the knowledge before we go into it.
If we have additional questions after the presentation, we'd be able to go back to the consultant and ask their opinion or whatever, I'm sure.
You're saying the NeighborWorks Montana
Yeah,
people? Yeah,
yeah,
I think we'd want to submit those like via email, and Kara could then combine them into a single. We'd want to kind of codify it so that we'd all benefit from the question and the response. I think. Again, we're a public board, so we shouldn't be sending around emails to the whole group. So it should probably go through Kara, and then Kara can submit it for inquire, and then it can be presented. We can get the response as part of our board packet in advance of the, if we're having a presentation, the next meeting is our decision. We'd get that, get those answers.
right.
So you might want to set a time for questions, and not only of just NeighborWorks Montana. So Kara, you're thinking we'd have like a presentation meeting, we get all that information out of the way, and then we'd follow up. The second meeting would be a decision meeting that the board would be making a decision as to our recommendation. And
So that's kind of how I'd initially thought that we could do it. But I think, let's see, I'm gonna end up sharing the same thing here. Sorry, hold on just a second.
Can I jump in with another question? Slightly unrelated,
Sure.
and probably displaying of my ignorance.
Sure.
Can
Or
somebody-
can we illuminate all of our thinking, John? So let's be more positive.
Well, and maybe this is a better question for you, Michael. It's kind of a two-part question. How much work time, how much of, $65 an hour fee would you manage, or would you expect to be assessed per applicant, if you will, or, and the second part of that is, where exactly does that money come from? Are we eroding on any level our expected funds that are available for us to distribute, or is this it's actually a city problem? Is this a budget item that they have to figure out how to cover?
So
I guess what I'm getting at is I'm not sure which methodology I want to advocate for more until I kind of know where the money's coming from. Does that make sense?
So yeah, and that's brings up a really good point. The payment for the different services that we have for NeighborWorks are different. And so we have a flat fee for the kind of the front side of what they're offering, which is those underwriting reviews and coming to these kind of meetings. And I'll definitely clarify that with them. So there's not a $65 an hour price tag attached to someone coming to our evaluation meeting and just kind of presenting on what they've put together. So that's a flat fee per application that they've suggested. And then, so the $65 an hour is actually what will happen like in maybe like February or maybe March, where they're actually going to be putting together those templated documents and kind of helping put together that package of materials that we'll need to close each of these loans. And so the money for that kind of comes from the fund, I guess, but also as part of these applications in those guidelines, we have like not a closing fee. There's some different fees. So like we have an application fee a $200 application fee per applicant. And then there's like some loan fees as well. And so the idea behind those is that it'll help kind of fund those administrative services.
Okay,
But some of it too just does come, it will erode the fund a little bit. And so we do have an 8% cap on administrative services for items like this. But yeah, definitely understand the worry there.
well, I tend to lean towards, I guess at this stage of the game anyway, seeing how much of this we actually can manage and paying somebody else to do things when we know we need them to do them.
Yeah.
I can
Um,
share the process that we do at the bank, because it sounds like we're kind of, I mean, it's very similar. So someone would give you the document to review, the credit analysis prior to a meeting. You would have time to review that. And then during the loan committee meeting, someone could make a presentation as to that loan package that they put together. And then you could have your decision after that or at the next meeting.
That makes sense. Is there any, from your perspective, Stephanie, is there ever any, like, is it more useful to do it within one meeting, or are there a lot of, I don't know, like, that's one thing I've thought about with, you know, like option one long meeting versus option two. Is there something to be said for having some time after this presentation to kind of think about it, or, I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah, I mean, we don't, but that doesn't mean we couldn't. I think the idea of getting the materials beforehand is to be able to familiarize with yourself with the document, have your questions ready so that that loan presentation is really more of a Q&A on things that are outstanding, so that you would feel prepared to make a decision during that same meeting.
gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. It's so hard going into this too, not knowing if we get 10
Yeah.
applications, it'll be very different. I mean, one
Exactly.
long meeting may be unworkable, you know? And so I guess in my mind, for whatever reason, I think it's just the first kind of way we ever discussed it, maybe, was having the two different meetings, one for kind of like the presentations and one for discussion. So I
Okay.
think maybe I'm just having to kind of break out of my own box here of what I've been thinking about. So yeah, I'm very open. I like the idea too of having what Rachel mentioned about having NeighborWorks Montana kind of
Mhm.
all the information first, and then, you know, discussion later. The other item I'm kind of, and I don't know if anyone has, like, maybe Stephanie, from your experience, maybe you'd have something to lend here. Just time-wise, I just don't know really what to expect from a presentation. Like I kind of put down here 10 to 15 minutes for an applicant to present their project, but it almost just seems too little of a time to really give to something that potentially is, you know, real complex. And so I don't know if maybe we need more like an hour per project to have them present and have questions, or if maybe that seems too much. I don't know.
When I've gone in to do similar meetings and conversations, it's always been half an hour to an hour. And that's just been wiggle room. You set aside an hour, but oftentimes it's just half an hour, so.
Okay.
The,
After an hour, I imagine it's.
yeah,
Oops, sorry,
this,
go ahead.
this Monday is the presentation to the Montana Board of Housing of, say, the tax credit allocation meeting, and that's a very concise. Keep in mind that the application is supposed to carry the day. And so things in the presentation, it should be just illuminating what they've already presented in the application. So the presentation is not so much what we're making our decision on. It's what the project is and how it's presented in the application. And so it really is just to help them highlight their project and allow us to ask questions that we have from reading their application materials. So it doesn't necessarily, they're not necessarily real long for that purpose. And it really will depend on how many applications we get, but generally we should probably adopt a process that can work, whether we have 2 projects or 8. If we're giving each one an hour, you know, we'd be there for a while. But,
Yeah, this is Byron. I don't think it should be the hour time frame either. That you would think they could summarize their proposal in the 15 to 20-minute time frame. But would we do this all in one meeting, or which depends on which way you want to do it. If the applicants are first, then that would be one meeting, and then the second meeting, or vice versa with Neighborhood Works, and then making the decision at the end. Is that what we're going to be doing?
Yeah, so some of that, I guess I'm hoping to utilize this meeting to hear what your preference would be, you know, the order of operations there. But my hope is that move this out of the way. So here we are on the 14th is when at least that first meeting is happening. So to me, that seems pretty set in stone that at least we have this time frame set aside. The other time frame to keep in mind, I guess, just as far as how much time after that we have to consolidate our thoughts here into one recommendation for the commission, is that the commission meeting that this will go to, the kind of the planned one, is on oh, this can't be right. It would be on the 18th of January. So we have to have our information for that meeting submitted on January 4th. So just to keep that in mind, that we have essentially, I would say maybe like by that week after we meet, maybe that would be a good deadline for us to have our information ready to go. Maybe if we need more, we can kind of have this cushion week here if we needed to schedule another meeting, or someone had said just a few minutes ago, if we needed to ask more questions, perhaps, you know, we could schedule another meeting this week so that we can get all of that done in an open meeting and still have our information ready to go to submit to the commission 2 weeks prior to the 18th. We still don't have commission meeting times set in stone for January, but I think that's what the clerk's office said would be the likely first administrative meeting. So
we would present to the administrative meeting and then to a regular commission meeting? Follow?
Yeah, so I think the presentation really is the administrative meeting. And so on the 18th, that's when the recommendations would be presented, and then the commission may have some questions, and then their decisions are usually pretty quick. And so that would, I think, end up being the 23rd or possibly the 30th is when they would make their funding decisions.
So, Kara, in your mind, we will be receiving the application materials and the NeighborWorks Montana review. You would be emailing that out to us on Thursday, the December 1st.
Correct. Yep.
And we would need to have some time to review those materials. What would be a workable time frame for the committee to review materials? Would we want to schedule a meeting the week of December 5th for the first meeting?
Well, and Michael, maybe I guess I hadn't even thought about changing the 14th meeting, but we have our
Oh, the
standing.
14th. Okay.
Right.
Okay. The first would be in advance of the 14th meeting. Okay. Got it. Okay.
So yeah, I thought 2 weeks for you all to have that information and really be able to kind of peruse it at your own speed, and then. So I guess that would be my preference as well, just to
Yeah.
keep at least the 14th, and we could change the time on that as well. Especially if you're wanting to maybe do everything in one day. And then I kind of had a standing meeting on my calendar for the 16th at the same time. But that day is pretty open as far as the city calendar. So we really, in basically the 14th, 15th, and 16th, I think are pretty open. The only time frame we have to stay away from are commission meetings. And so there is one at 4 p.m. on the 14th that we couldn't go past.
We can go past on the 14th?
No, we couldn't go past 4 p.m. on the 14th. So that does limit us a little bit on that time frame. So that's what I was thinking. If we wanted to a longer meeting, we'd have to go earlier in the day.
So, yeah, I mean, we talked about going longer in the day, into the evening, that I think we'll find out. I don't know, can people meet earlier in the day? Okay. So it will be a little bit dependent on how many applications we get, how long we want to, I think we want to get through the initial review of the application, the presentation from NeighborWorks Montana, and hear from the applicants if we can in one meeting, and then have the second meeting be our decision meeting, most likely. I don't think it's good practice to necessarily try to make a decision that same day with the presentations. If it's, we'll know when, you'll know, Kara, you'll be getting the applications on what day in November?
On the 17th.
On the 17th. So we'll have plenty of time to know what our workload is going to be, correct?
Yep, and that's why, so our November meeting is on the 9th, and I think that would be a really good time to kind of set the December meeting. So I think on the 9th, we'll really know exactly what to expect numbers wise, and just be able to really plan this out. So I guess perhaps maybe what would be helpful for me is just knowing kind of the structure that would be most helpful, and maybe what people's schedules look like in that week in December, just so we know kind of what we have available. I don't know if that's maybe too early for people to really know, but.
Well, for me, I can make anything work, and I'm really quite flexible about preferences. If you wanted me to give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down vote, I think probably 2 meetings makes far and away the most sense. So, but that's me, and I'm okay any way you want to do it.
And this is Byron, and I would say the 2 meetings, the 14th and on the 16th would be good. If those would work for me.
And are people available earlier in the afternoon? Like if we just said, perhaps we have this 1 to 4 time frame that we could use for the 14th, is that doable for people?
Yeah,
For me, it is at least.
it is for me.
It is
That
for
works.
me.
And the afternoon of the 16th is maybe a similar time frame. Are people available for that as well?
I am.
I am currently, yeah.
Yes.
But my only question about, I guess 2 days would be, because the type of questions we wouldn't want, it wouldn't be a presentation of fundamental information, it'd be more things around the edges that we'd be able to maybe ask those questions at the meeting on the 14th, and if there's some additional information to be gained, it could be provided to us in advance of the 16th.
Yeah, and the other thing I thought about, just given that these are going to be open meetings, it seems likely to me that an applicant would come to the 16th as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And that if there was an outstanding question, that, that would also be a good opportunity to still ask that.
Well, I think if they can provide it in a written response, it allows us to separate out our review from our decision making, and that
Yeah.
you in other settings I've seen it where the ability to provide additional information or answer questions can get a little out of hand, and it's like a second presentation kind of thing. So I mean, the type of, we should raise our questions at the 14th, and it might be a type of question that might require them to have a day to get back to us, and that can be given to us on the 16th or part of our packet on the 16th, and we can say we got that answered. But I think we'll probably want to avoid, applicants will be there because they'll be interested, but we'll want to avoid having a second round of presentations.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's a good point. Well, I think that's super helpful for me, just knowing we have kind of these timeframes to play with, and thinking that we definitely want NeighborWorks Montana to provide a bit of a presentation on each of their underwriting reviews. We want time built in for the applicant to present their project, or a very kind of brief summary, and with maybe even most of the time going to an interactive, like, kind of question answer section. So maybe we could say like 10 minutes for presentations, 20 minutes for questions, move on to the next applicant, half an hour for each application. Does that seem fair or doable?
I'm sorry, you're saying that we would move through it 30 minutes at a time?
Yeah, and I guess maybe I'm not thinking of I'm not sure how much time the NeighborWorks, so that's maybe kind of a little bit of an unknown too. So maybe we want a little bit
Yeah.
more than a half hour, and maybe a buffer time as well, maybe 45 minutes per application. Just thinking, I want to be able, like, when we put together an agenda for this meeting, I want to be able to have timeframes for each applicant in the event that they can only show for their presentation, or and just to keep us on track a little bit too.
So we present, we would have on each project, we would have, begin with the NeighborWorks Montana underwriting review with us, and then we'd follow by the presentation by the applicant. I think probably 30 minutes would get there, knowing what the NeighborWorks Montana review again is based on a very lengthy document that they'll be providing us. And then 15 minutes is probably for an applicant to be able to highlight and draw our attention to their things that are, there should be in reference to the application that they provided us. And that works if there's 2 applicants, that works if there's 4. It's not going to work if we have 8, but we'll know that in November, so we'll have to change our schedule a little bit. But just say in comparison, we won't have, I think that's probably a good way of doing it, because we'll then have the fresh, when the NeighborWorks Montana will provide the grounding as to what the specific project is and the financial structure and all that, and then the applicant will be able to come in and explain the project. Or we could do it the other way, but we'll be keeping each project together in the presentation of the information, so we don't get confused in the way. I go back and forth as to what is more useful. I guess what do you think of providing the applicant the chance? Is it better to have the applicant have the chance to present their information about their project and then have the objective review, or vice versa?
Vice versa.
So NeighborWorks then
then
applicant, then,
application. Okay.
Hmm.
Everyone
I think
has
that's,
a structure.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's maybe better to not setting the applicant up to be, I don't want to say contradicted, or I don't want them to feel like they were set up to then
Yeah.
have NeighborWorks come in and tear their application apart,
Get it
but
apart, yeah.
yeah.
And everything we're provided will be sent to the applicant in advance of their presentation. So they'll have the review from NeighborWorks Montana in hand,
Yeah.
correct?
Correct. Yeah, that'll all be
That's,
very
Everyone feel
transparent.
good about that approach?
Yes,
Yeah,
That's fine.
Agreed.
Okay, perfect. Well, I think. Well, sorry, I won't jump in here, but I think it's been very helpful for me in planning for our November meeting and then for this meeting as well in December.
Okay. Anything else regarding November agenda? Okay. All righty, this is the time on our agenda then we set aside for public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make comment at this time? Okay. Not seeing or hearing any public comment, we'll go to member communications. We've already discussed our next agenda. Anything else from members for the good of the cause?
Mhm.
And then, okay. Our next up, meetings of interest. First, our next meeting will be November 9th at 2 o'clock. I would like just to, we'll send out, Kara, do you have all I'll send it to you just so fresh, but the Housing is Healthcare Fuse initiative, which is kind of a community partnership that's trying to particularly address housing needs of persons who are homeless or unstably housed, who are high utilizers of community systems like healthcare, emergency room, emergency services, criminal justice system, homeless services and such. We'll have a series of community meetings that we'd like to invite you all to, beginning on next Tuesday, October 18th. Is that the right date? Yeah. And then meetings on the 18th, 19th, and 20th. And so I'm in the evening. I think will be an interesting thing. We'll send that around, Kara, if you would. I'll send that to you if you could push that out to everyone. I'd like to invite you all. And then any other interests, any announcements, anything else from the committee? No. And then the meeting's adjourned. Thank you again for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right.